Welcome everyone. Welcome to this midweek session, which we call it as expert session or industry session during the FHIR basics learning initiative. So yesterday we had the first session that was by Dr. SBB on terminologies. And today we will be talking about Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission and FHIR, how FHIR is being used in Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. My name is Kumar Satyam, and today is 2nd of May 2024. So before we start, some housekeeping. So please be on mute, have your full name in the Zoom participants profile, ask questions on Zoom chat or on Zulip chat. And if you are still not on Zulip, please take a minute to scan the QR code and join Zulip. All our discussions happen on Zulip, and the recordings, the videos are shared there. And it will be good if you are there. It will be easier for us to do the communication as well. So please take a moment and join the Zulip. So this is the QR code that you can scan and join. Hope you have scanned, so I'll move on. So session's expectations. So what should you expect out of this session, today's session, right? A brief introduction to ABDM. What is ABDM Health Information Exchange? Like an introduction to how the Health Information Exchange happens. Again, a brief introduction to FHIR documents. Then we will look at ABDM FHIR profiles, and then we will take question, answer, and discussions. Okay. So the first three would be more of a presentation and theory, and then the next two would be more discussions, show and tell, something like that. Okay. Before we get on, here is another thing. This entire initiative is done by FHIR India community. So it's a community of HL7 FHIR and interoperability enthusiasts who have come together with a common mission and vision to just promote interoperability, make digital health more like an ecosystem, enable ecosystem, right? So be it standards like FHIR, HL7, DICOM, OpenAir, anything, right? So this is a forum where all the guys come in and we discuss, we iterate, we do things so that all of us can benefit. Okay. Zulip chat is our discussion forum that we want to be there. LinkedIn presence, we have a LinkedIn group. Okay. And again, I'll request you to take a minute to just scan the QR code if you are not already on the LinkedIn group, because we do try to share information about FHIR, about what's happening, or any news or anything on the LinkedIn as well. Okay. So for the community, it's good to be together, and LinkedIn groups, we found it to be useful. The purpose of the FHIR India community, I have just written a small article. You can take a look at it to understand like the background of the community, what the community intends to do, and how we are structured and organized. So there is an article that you can take a look at. So I'm pausing for, say, 30 seconds. Scan the QR code if you have not done it yet. Join the LinkedIn group. Okay, and if you are tagging anything, or if you are posting anything that you want the attention of the FHIR India community, please use the hashtag FHIR India. That way, those tags we can filter out and we can further propagate or do any action if that is required to be taken. Okay, so FHIR India is our hashtag. With that, we move to today's session. So the first thing, okay, you all would have heard so far what is ABDM, so Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. It's the mission to digitize the healthcare delivery in the country, right? It tries to build an ecosystem which could provide, or which would provide, an efficient, accessible, inclusive, affordable care for everyone, right? And the idea is to move from illness-centric to a wellness-centric ecosystem or to a society which is more wellness centric, which is more proactive, which is more focused on privacy and confidentiality. It respects everything while delivering the care. That's the vision of ABDM. So 6 basic tenets: efficiency, accessibility, inclusiveness, timeliness, safety, and affordability. That's what ABDM's vision is. Okay. And if you see what, or if you try to understand what exactly ABDM is trying to do, ABDM is aiming to develop a backbone that is necessary for digital health delivery in the country, and then also ensure that there is a seamless exchange of health records happening. So these are the two broad objectives or two broad aims of ABDM. Okay. Now, when you get onto ABDM, right? So there are some key components that would be good to know. Okay. So ABDM have an ABHA. So ABHA is the foundational component. ABHA stands for Ayushman Bharat Health Account. It's a unique identification number for every patient or every person in the country, right? So that's what ABHA is. Okay. Track individual address, yeah. Then comes Federated Health Records, or the PHR, the ABHA app. So it's again, it's a mobile app which says like how, as a citizen, if you can access the decentralized or distributed health records on a mobile app. Okay, so ABHA app is that framework. Okay. The third component that you can think of is actually the interoperable digital services, or the UHI. So how do you discover and deliver, right? So how does that digital marketplace discovery and delivery happen? The UHI is for that, right? So where the providers can be there, they can be listing their services. The consumers, the patients would be there, who can search for the providers who are offering the services, make a match, make the payment, get the service done. That's all. So that's the UHI. Okay. Then standardized health registries, and then claims exchange, the claims platform. So these are the main components. So we also have, which is not listed here, or it's listed here, standardized health registries. So in that, you have a unique provider registry. So which means that all the providers, all the practitioners, nurses, or whoever is the clinician, right? They have an unified ID in the system, unique across the country. Similarly, for health facilities, right? So you can have clinics, hospitals, labs, pharmacies, so on and so forth, right? There is a provision of having unique identification and unique registry entry for each and every health facility in the country. Similarly, an initiative is going for curating a registry for drugs, a drug database, unique listing of drugs in the country. A drug database is also coming up, right? So these are the key components. Now, when you are interacting with ABDM, there will be some common terms or key terms or some frequently used terms that you will come across. Okay. So I have listed out those, and we will just take a few minutes to talk about these, because these are important if you are talking to anyone on ABDM or if you are interacting with ABDM, right? So these are the common terms that you'll hear. So understanding these, or at least knowing that these are the terms there and what do they mean, will help you a lot. And the first one, which is like ABHA address, ABHA number, ABHA app. So all three starts with ABHA, so confusing. So I'll just try to simplify them. So ABHA address and ABHA number. So when you are creating a unique patient ID through Aadhaar, okay, you get two things, okay. You get a number, a 14-digit number, okay, that is called the ABHA number. So it's a unique number across, okay. You also get a facility to create a easily rememberable address, okay. So something on the lines of UPI or email address. So You can also have an ABHA address which is tied to the ABHA number, which can be like, so for example, Kumar Satyam, the number is 12345 6 till 14 digits, and then I can choose to have an ABHA addressing Kumar Satyam at ABDM. Okay, so that will be my ABHA address. So with one ABHA number, you can have multiple ABHA addresses. So that's the difference between ABHA number and ABHA address. ABHA app, you have already seen, ABHA app is nothing but the PHR app. So when people talk about the PHR app, they also call it ABHA app. And specifically, if you're using the government PHR app, typically it is called as ABHA. In fact, if you go to the Google Play Store and download, it is called as ABHA app only. All right. Health Facility Registry is a registry for all the healthcare facilities in the country. So again, here a facility needs to register themselves. They will get a facility ID that they can use, and then the facilities go through different degrees of verification once you do the submission. Same thing for health professional registries. This is for all the healthcare professionals like clinicians, nurses, a paramedic, even all the Ayurvedic and other things are included in here. So every practitioner gets a unique ID. Okay. Federated Health Record, FHR, which is similar to FHIR, and say if you don't pay attention that the I is missing. FHR is Federated Health Record. So the concept in ABDM is, and how ABDM differs, or the unique proposition that ABDM brings to the table is, it says the health records are not to be centralized. They will be federated, they will be decentralized. Okay. And the source will have the data. And on demand with consent, the data will flow of source to the requester, from the source to the destination, right? This entire network is called as Federated Health Record Exchange Network. Okay, so that's the Federated FHR. Now, HL7 FHIR, I don't have to talk about because everyone knows that we are in this session, right? So FHIR is a standard from HL7, and it is used for data exchange and interoperability. Health record linking. So there is a process through which you can notify ABDM or ABDM registries that there is a new health record for a given patient available in the system. Right? So suppose there is a clinic or a hospital, right, where a patient walks in, right? So once the patient has seen the doctor, right, his EMR record will get created, right? Once the record gets created, there should be a notification that goes to the centralized registry. Right now it's centralized, but the design is such that it can be decentralized also. But there is a registry of records where which is named as consent manager today, where there is an indication that a new record for a given ABHA address is at this particular health facility ID. Okay, this act of notification and registering that particular health record availability into the consent manager is called as health record linking. HIP and HIU, I will explain in the next slides. DSC is Digital Solutions Company. So any company, any healthcare provider, any health ITU or health tech company, which is ABDM enabled, is called as Digital Solutions Company or Digital Solutions Company. Yes, that's the right word. So all the tech companies who are ABDM compliant are DSCs. You can think of like that. And consent manager, as I told you, is the centralized registry, which keeps track of the consents, what records are available where. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll just go through an illustrative workflow enabled through ABDM. Okay, this will give you an idea of how ABDM envisions the user journey. Okay, once it is widely adopted. Okay, so suppose there is a hospital or a lab, it registers itself at a health facility registry. So means now the lab or the hospital is part of the ABDM network. Okay, A patient walks into the facility, a patient comes to that particular hospital. The patient is already having the ABHA card, which is also called as the health ID. Okay. The patient shows the ABHA card or scans the ABHA card on the health facility at the registration desk. Now, there can be multiple possibilities that can happen here. Here, the assumption is the patient already has an ABHA card or a health ID. If they don't, they will have a facility, provision to create it. But let's assume that the patient has the ABHA card. So what happens? Lab or hospital, as soon as they scan their health ID, right, the entire patient's demographics information, right, comes over to the registration desk without any information being shared by the patient. So what it means is the name, the demographics, the name, gender, date of birth, address, mobile number, everything comes in as an API response. The beauty of it is your registration process can get very fast, like less than 30 seconds. The second thing is all the information is pre-validated. So there is no chance of having a clerical mistake or some kind of a mistake because the data is pre-validated that is coming to you. So with that, you can do the registration. Once the registration happens, okay, the facility, while the patient says that I want to meet a so-and-so doctor and patient waits, the health facility can actually request for medical history of the patient from the ABDM network. Okay, so what will happen? As soon as the request is raised by the health facility where the patient is, the patient will get a notification saying that so-and-so hospital where you are in has requested for your health history, health documents from the past, medical history. The patient sees those in their mobile and patient can say, okay, these are relevant, I'll share these. These are not relevant, I will not consent for those, right? So whatever patient consents, okay, those health records will be traveling from the sources. So suppose the patient had visited multiple hospitals or multiple clinics beforehand, right? And he has a medical history spread across multiple centers, right? In one click, all those information can come to the current doctor, and that doctor or the clinician can see the health records or the patient's medical history while the patient walks into the chamber. Okay. Then the patient clinician interaction happens, and the clinician again writes a prescription. Okay, and that gets added to the medical records of the patient. That prescription also gets tagged to ABDM through the health record linking process. And then the patient gets an information that you have a new health record that is generated in this facility. Now, with the mobile app that the patient has, the patient gets, again, this also record gets added. And so the journey continues. So in the next place that the patient goes, he has all the medical history, even the current medical history that is there. And it all can happen instantaneously, right? And then it becomes easier and easier over a period of time to create a longitudinal patient history where it can aid in their effective treatment. Okay, so that's one of the illustrative ABDM enabled workflows that can be enabled and that are being enabled through ABDM. All right. Now, we talked about Federated Health Record Exchange, and this is the schematic diagram that the Federated Health Record Exchange that represents the Federated Health Record Exchange. Okay. So if you see in the schematic, there are on the left and right, if you can see, on the left, there are hospitals, labs, clinics, and so on and so forth, which are all classified as health information providers. Okay, so you can think of these as entities who are creators of health data. Okay, on the right-hand side, you have HIUs, health information users. Okay, they may be the consumers of the health data. Okay, now when you saw the previous illustrative workflow, in that workflow, the current hospital where the patient was standing would act as a HIU in the first phase, okay, where the HIU would be requesting data from the ABDM network from the various different hospitals, right? Now in this, if you see, user interaction is represented with dotted lines, and the red line is of importance that I wanted you to focus on is the data flow. So if you see, after all the consent is happening and after the records and the source and the destination is established, the data flow actually happens peer-to-peer. So hospital 1 transfers the data directly to hospital 2, okay? Or any hospital to any hospital, hospital to clinic. ABDM stuff, right? Like the consent managers or the gateways, the registries, do not see what data has been exchanged, okay? So that way, your data is, again, not getting centralized. The government agencies are not privy to the data that is actually your health records. Okay, so that's how the design is. If you see, there are concepts of repositories. Repositories are conceptualized as software entities who can enable multiple applications like HIMS, LIMS, software aggregators, and all to be ABDM compliant. Okay, so it could. So the vision is there is a provision where the ABDM designers have thought about the challenges that the traditional HIMS and LIMS would face when they have to get on to ABDM, and with ABDM ever changing, ever evolving, it would be a lot of ask for individual systems to adapt, right? So in fact, there can be special set of entities, special set of software companies that can come into the ecosystem who can provide a brokering kind of a service between the ABDM and the different hospital systems, right? Those you can think of repositories. Health lockers, just like you have the DigiLocker, is the concept where patients can store all their data on their health locker. So you can have a health locker that you can download or sign into, and you can actually pull the data from all the sources and keep in your health locker, right? So that's what this diagram is. Now, coming to the next thing. Yeah.
Would you like to take some of the questions in between, or there are some questions in the chat?
We will take it after a logical closure. Like we'll close the ABDM thing and then we'll take the questions.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, in order for ABDM compliance, okay, in order for a software to be ABDM compliant, it has to go through 3 milestones. Milestone M1, M2, and M3. And these 3 milestones have distinct goals. If you meet that goal, if you demonstrate that goal, then you can be certified to be compliant to that particular milestone. So for example, if there is a software company and the first thing that they would be required to do is they should be able to search for ABHA, create with ABHA capture data coming from ABHA. So all ABHA related activities, right? Create, search, verify for seamless registration and all. So if you are able to do that, you are an M1 compliant system, right? M2 is more about data exchange and linking. So if your system is a creator of data, is creating health records, right? So it should be able to link the health records to the registry and on demand should be able to share. If you're able to demonstrate that capability, you are, what do you say, M2 compliant. M3, going further, if you are able to do the reverse of M2, means now M2 is more of HIP, means you are a health information provider. M3 is more about HIU. As an health information user, if you are able to request for data, consume the data that is coming in, right? Then you are an M3 compliant system, right? So typically, depending on the role that your system plays, right, you can choose what certification levels you want to go to, M1, M2, M3, right? So that's how it is. There is currently incentive scheme that is going on, Ayushman Bharat Digital DHIS, Digital Health Incentive Scheme. In that digital health incentive scheme, linking and sharing, token-based registration, pharmacy reports, all these things are incentivized. So you as a hospital or a clinic, if you are able to link your health records and demonstrate and do sharing when required, right, then you are actually eligible for the incentive scheme. Okay. The condition would be you have to use a ABDM certified solution to do that. Okay. And you can read more about it on the sandbox.abdm.gov.in. Now, suppose you are a software company and you are interested in getting onto ABDM, right? So a simple integration process. So you'll go onto the sandbox of ABDM, register there, you get sandbox credentials, you integrate with the ABDM APIs, you go for functional testing and certification, VASA testing and certification. After that, you do a technology demo to the health tech community, a health tech committee. So health tech committee is a what do you say, apex body or a body which is responsible to say whether your application is compliant to be given a license, production license or not. So it's the last stage, HTC demo. HTC demo happens only when you have cleared all the stages. But in HTC demo, the HTC members can even say that you are not compliant, or their okay is important for you to get a license. Okay, and once you get the production license, you just go ahead and start operations. So this is what integration journey is. If you are interested in ABDM or anything, we can sync offline, Zulip chat, you can ask questions and we can have that. The intent here is not to get onto ABDM integrations and all that. It was more of a overview that we had. All right. So now we will take a logical break. We will address some of the questions and then we will resume our FHIR journey. Okay. So let me take a look. So 5:29. I have opened my chat. Yeah, go ahead, Silva. So from where shall I start?
Okay, from the top, fourth comment.
That is
it
Mayank Agrawal?
next?
Okay. So Rajiv Tatkar, right?
Shiva Prasad.
Shiva Prasad. Okay, but before that there was a Rajiv question also. I'll take Rajiv question also. So
Okay.
why another number? Why not use Aadhaar? Good question. There is actually a video available on YouTube where they discuss why not Aadhaar. But simple reason is they wanted a domain specific number which can be used and to just not get tied up with Aadhaar. And you know the Aadhaar also has some legal challenges and legal problems. So you need a domain specific number which can be used in that domain, right? So initial creation, you can use Aadhaar, but after that, you can use that number to proceed, right? That's what the idea. It would also, from a technical side of it, I can think of is, once you have done that, right? If you have a separate number, you don't have to leverage on the Aadhaar network, right? So you can leave the Aadhaar network and still be functional. So that gives you like redundancy in terms of like, even if the Aadhaar network is down, you can work, or even if your health record network is down, you can work. So redundancy is also there. But basic premise is, I think there are some challenges, bureaucratic, legal, and other, why that was chosen. But over a period of time, engineering-wise, it's a wise decision to have a domain-centric number. Same thing like you have a PAN or you have passport number, you have what is GST number and all, because domain specific numbers, you have it, right? So that was the idea. Is it going to be similar to ONDC for digital health services? I think ONDC came later. This came fast, but I think somewhere it will converge, but it will not be ONDC. Okay. So ONDC, one component will be the UHI that will be used, but we'll have to see. Okay, because the UHI is something that is more like a marketplace where the providers are there and the providers are there, consumers are there, and they get connected and they do the exchange. That's what ONDC enables, right? So that's one part of it. The UHI network is one part of it, right? But broader ABDM tries to solve the intricate healthcare data exchange problem, the interoperability and the accessibility problem, and how do you have like longitudinal data, longitudinal patient health records made. That's what it is essentially trying to do. Srinivas has a question for newborn kids. There won't be Aadhaar, right? Answer I think Rajiv has given that now newborns can have Aadhaar. Okay, so that's what it is. But Aadhaar number can be created through mobile also. Not Aadhaar number, Aadhaar address can be created through mobile also. There's another provision of having driving license, which is also not applicable for newborns. But there are options. Okay, so you can get that. Rajiv has another question. Does not having multiple Aadhaar addresses enable hiding health record counterproductive for healthcare and insurance? See, the Aadhaar addresses, right? So pros and cons, right? So when you hear the for why there are multiple Aadhaar addresses, the thing is so that you don't expose all the data to all the people, right? So suppose somebody has a mental illness and a regular, they want to hide mental data from sharing it at a GP, right? They don't feel comfortable because of social stigma and all, and it does not impact, right? So they can have the separate Aadhaar address. So that kind of privilege the person should have, right? What data they should share, what data can be aggregated and all. And that's the reason why multiple Aadhaar addresses are allowed. But essentially, if somebody wants using the Aadhaar, they can backlink. Because see, Aadhaar address can be multiple, but the Aadhaar number is the same. Okay. So different levels of abstraction, it's not counterproductive. Okay. It in fact safeguards to a certain extent the patient's rights. Okay. NHA does not use plastic Aadhaar cards. How will the rural villagers scan Aadhaar? Not everyone has smartphones. You don't have to scan Aadhaar. You can remember your Aadhaar address. You can just give them, it will be like Kumar Satyam at ABDM, right? That you can remember, right? You can just tell them, right? And even villagers where they did not have the Aadhaar and mobile linked, we did create their Aadhaar numbers. It was easy to create. Okay, and all you have to do next time, there is a biometric authentication also. You just give the PHR address and you just give the fingerprint. Your Aadhaar details can be taken out. Okay. Aadhaar can also be generated with assisted mode registration at facilities. Yes. No ABDM is based on federated architecture. I don't know what the question is. We'll move to next. Dipankar, all the medical records of a patient maintained centrally. I think I answered that. No, it's federated. Only the metadata is maintained. So I think somebody is answering. Who certifies the PHR app? NHA does. Example, hospital database cloud. I don't know the question there. After pulling data from the patient's health record, can the patient ask the HIP to delete? For their mandate auto delete. So deletion is, so you can only keep the data for as long as the consent is valid. So whenever you're doing a consent, you also give a consent expiry date. At the time of expiry, the health information users who have received the data, they should delete whatever information they have received. So where does the data get stored? In the hospital servers or elsewhere? Definitely on the respective hospital servers. Is there any sensing of the current level of maturity? We will talk about that. AWS Health Data Lake service from AWS. Is it a repository? I don't know. We will take it later. Do we have any feeling on the number of? Yes, we will take that question. I think that's fine. I think we have addressed most of the things. let's get on with the phase 2 of the session, which is like talking more about FHIR and all.
Satyam Sivaprasad raised a hand. Maybe
I can't see the hand.
Sivaprasad, you can unmute and speak.
Thank you, Kumar sir, for taking this session. So in my previous question is an extension to the question which I specified, right? So is a ABDM mission is going to be similar to ONDC. Like you can pick your providers, you can pick your pharmacists, you can pick your lab partners or private and public on this app. Is it going to somewhere I've read? I mean, I just wanted to check it.
That's one of the components. That is what Tracto enables, right? In some extent, right? So yeah, that is one part of it, but that's not the ABDM's main motto,
right?
ABDM's main motto that we saw the objective of it, right? To make a digital backbone, right? Where a seamless data exchange can happen, right? Because the vision of healthcare is not just commercial, right? Means healthcare is not about marketplace, right? Think of yourself. If you fall sick, you just don't pick a doctor and go there, right? You find out who is the best doctor, you go there, and then you have a relationship, right? Next time you go to that doctor only, right? So that's where I think majority of our problems with the commercial tech, right, or the people or us, right? We try to equate fintech with healthcare, right? So fintech is more transactional, more point to point, right? But healthcare is more long, more deeper, right? So the UHI or the ONDC part can be one of the part of the ABDM, but not the main goal of ABDM. Hope I have answered that. So let's go ahead. The other questions we'll take in the second phase. Okay. Let me see the time. The time is 5:39. Okay. So if you have all attended our previous sessions, you know this slide. Okay. So what is FHIR? FHIR is fast health. So here, fast healthcare or health, you can say anything. Interoperable resources. Today, we will be focusing more on the document paradigm, right? So FHIR supports multiple paradigms, RESTful APIs, messaging, document services. We will see more of documents today because ABDM talks about documents. Again, this slide you have already seen. For few people who have not been onto the sessions, this is just a refresher. The basic building block of FHIR is FHIR resources. So FHIR resources are the smallest unit of transaction in FHIR, right? So if you have to exchange any information in FHIR, the smallest unit of exchange is resources. And resources are made of entities which are of interest to healthcare, right? So for example, patient, practitioner, condition, these are like examples of resources. It's also listed in the picture below on the left-hand side. And then resources follow a discrete or follow a standardized structure. First comes the resource metadata, then there is a human readable component to there. Then there are resource extensions, and you know why extensions are there, because resources by themselves, base resources by themselves may not be sufficient, and you might have to extend them. So you might have to use extensions. So extensions come in there. And then there is the structured standardized data. All right, so this is the normal structure of any FHIR resource. Okay. Now, as I said, we will focus more on FHIR documents today. So what are FHIR documents? And what are they used for? And what is the basic characteristics of documents, right? So if you see on the right-hand side, the infographic that is there, right? Persistence, stewardship, potential for authentication, context, wholeness, human readability. That's what constitutes, or that's what makes a document. Okay. A document is used for persistence. There is ownership to the document, like who is the custodian of the document. A document should be able to be authenticated, like you have signatures in there. Document should have a context, whether it is a discharge summary or a lab report so on and so forth. Document should be whole, right? So when you're reading a document of a lab report, you read the lab report, right? If you're reading a discharge summary, you're reading a discharge summary. You don't read, okay, in the discharge summary, the patient demographics in some other document, then care team is in some other document. You don't do that, right? So if you're reading a document, you find everything together, right? And the documents are human readable, right? So these are the basic characteristics or basic 6 characteristics, if you can think of any document, okay? Now, FHIR documents are built on these principles, okay? When do you use documents? You can use documents when you're trying to store some information, the persistence. You use documents when your presentation of information and order of information is important, right? So whenever we are creating a Word document or anything, right, we have this introduction, then background, then synopsis, then details, right? So order and presentation of information is important, right? If you have to do something like that, you use documents, right? If you have to have authenticated something, right, you use documents, okay? And you can use documents also if you have data across multiple resources and you want to consolidate them together and present in a coherent, logical fashion, right? That's where typically you will lean towards using documents, right? So far, so clear? Now we get into like what exactly is a document, FHIR document. So that's written on the top left. If you read it once, I'll just pause. Okay. Essentially, a document is just a coherent presentation of information for a given context, for a given purpose. That's what a document is. And the document should be able to be attested by some of the, like whoever is the creator or whoever is that custodian, right? It could be humans, organization, devices, or whatever it is. Okay. Okay. Now let's take a look at what does a FHIR document look like? What are the essential elements of a FHIR document? Okay. So I think in session 1 we talked about bundle resource, right? So bundle resource in FHIR is a special resource. That resource is used for grouping of, or if you have multiple resources, then they need to be contained together, you use a bundle. So bundle is a resource under which you can have multiple resources as entries. Okay. So a FHIR document is also a bundle resource. Okay. So FHIR document has a bundle resource. The type of that bundle resource is document. So there can be multiple bundles, and then the bundles are identified by types. So type again is a code. Okay, you'd also heard about learned about code from yesterday's session, right? Coding, codable concept, right? So type is a code, and the type document is what represents a FHIR document. All right. The first element of a FHIR document under the bundle has to be a composition resource. Okay. So these are the rules. Like, so there will be a bundle, a resource. The bundle resource type will be document. And the first element of that particular bundle would be, or the first entry, a first resource in the bundle will be a composition resource. And then multiple resources can follow. Okay. So that's the first rule. The second thing, bundles can be represented in XML or JSON, which can be signed or managed as and when required. Okay. Now the bundle resources, right, can have both human readable and computer processable portions. It is recommended that a document should have human readable components. So it means when you are creating a FHIR document, right, you should have good amount of human readable components, so that if the document is open without any FHIR aware tools, still you will be able to make out what this document is about, right? And bundles or the documents can use CSS style sheets, provenance, signature, and all these things to make whatever is required in the document. So the baseline, it will be a bundle of type document. The first resource will be composition. It can be represented in either JSON or XML, and it may include both human readable and computer processable information. The document can be signed, and it can style sheets can be applied on top of it. All right. Now we get on to the ABDM FHIR bundles or FHIR documents. So ABDM has chosen FHIR version R4 as the base. Okay. So R4 version of FHIR is the base for ABDM. Okay. The document definitions, like, so what should a document contain, right? So for example, if you see the table on the right hand side, these are the documents that are today exchanged in the ABDM network. Okay. And these documents definition is maintained at NRCS/NDHM web page. Okay. So the documents are diagnostic report, discharge summary, health document, immunization, consultation, prescription, and wellness record. So these are the 7 types of documents today allowed to be exchanged on ABDM network. In addition, there could be some encryption requirement that is there from the ABDM side when you're exchanging the documents. We'll see that. Okay. Now, these are the documents. These are the 7 types of documents that you can exchange on ABDM network as of today. Correct? Now, when you are exchanging the documents on the ABDM network, these are some of the rules that you have to follow. So whenever there is a request that has been made, you have to fulfill the request in a shorter time period, right? Today, the default timeout is 20 minutes, means if a request is made for data exchange, in 20 minutes, if you don't fulfill that request, the request will expire and you have to request again. Okay. You can send multi-part documents if the documents are bigger, right? It depends. FHIR supports and ABDM supports the streaming approach. Okay. And then once the document exchange or a document transfer is closed or completed, you need to inform the ABDM registry or the consent manager that the request has been completed so that they can mark it that the document has been transferred from point A to point B. Okay. And there is a provision, right? So the endpoints, right? So there can be a situation, and there was a thought process, right? That there could be a chance that the source can deny the destination that I'll not transfer, I'll time out, or I'll do something. Some rules can be there, right? So to get away with that, the thing is there is a data push URL. So the destination can always request data on a new URL, right? So they don't have to declare the URL beforehand. When they're requesting, they can request saying that send the data on this particular endpoint. Okay. So that's some data posting guidelines. And there is a small sequence diagram that I've created. It's where you can see. So once the data push URL or a data transfer happens, you have to notify the gateway or the HICM or Health Information Exchange Consent Manager that the exchange has been completed. Okay. And that way the gateway or the HICM keeps track of who all are having what data. Okay. So this is about the ABDM data posting guidelines. Now we'll see this particular slide and then we'll jump into some explorations. Today, currently, Indian HIMS and LAMS players have very limited adoption of digital health standards. Correct? And this is what we understood yesterday as well in the session. Right? So current landscape is such that structured data is not that very well represented in our majority of the systems that are in play today, currently. So what it means is if ABDM has to work today, right, it cannot say that you give me a diagnostic report with observations and observations should have SNOMED and the line code and all these things, right? Because that data is not getting captured in the source itself, right? So it was a non-starter, right? So if you demanded structured data from day one, ABDM would have been a non-starter, because then it's a chicken and egg problem, right? So the hospitals have to upgrade their infrastructure. Why would they upgrade the infrastructure? Because the ABDM should happen, but ABDM can only happen if the infrastructure is there. So it's a deadlock. So what ABDM chose was, currently you can embed PDF as part of ABDM FHIR documents. So which means that you will have a FHIR bundle with a composition resource. Along with that, you will have all the metadata that you can provide. At the end, you can have a document reference resource with actually the PDF that is embedded. Okay. Now, this is the stopgap solution. Okay, which means that there is a limited time frame in which these solutions will be certified and be available for. Means already the timelines and the guidelines have started coming in, saying that by end of this year, people have to move to structured data. Okay. And patients can get access to the existing reports and share with health facilities, right? That's what the current approach is. Now, the challenge with that, you can't do a lot of things that you want digital health to do. You can't do trend analysis, you can't do analytics, you can't do research, you can't do population health if you are exchanging PDFs, right? So ABDM is now pushing the implementers and the digital health fraternity towards having structured data. Okay. And right now it's more like you should move on to structured data. That's more of like you should move on. Someday it will become mandatory that from day now you have to be on structured data, right? So that's where the path is, from unstructured to structured, because there are a lot of questions and a lot of debates in the industry that happens. Oh, it's a non-starter, it's a failure because we are doing just PDFs and we are just glorifying things. But the thing is, we have to also see the current lay of the land, right? And how do we get from point A to point wherever we want to go, right? And we don't, means we have to get started, and getting started was point A, that is the FHIR with the PDF. But the end goal or the destination is where we have all the things structured, coded with valid terminologies and all, which is somewhere like in near future. Okay. If you want to learn more about ABDM, you can go to the ABDM sandbox. We'll see the NRCS FHIR IG now. And then there is a developer forum where you can actually post questions and you can get answers. And if you are comfortable, you can post questions on Zulip, and some of us will answer there also. And if you are interested in, say, or if you're in the process of integrating the ABDM, there are enough and more people in the community who can help you. All right. So with this, what I'll do is we'll jump on to the last two things that we had. One is like we'll look at the FHIR IG that ABDM has developed. That's number one. And the second thing, we will look at the ABDM adoption, because that was one of the questions, like how many systems, how many things has happened, right? So these two things we'll see. Okay. So let me jump on to ABDM IG. So let me pause the share here. Stop. Go here. Okay. New share. Share. Okay. Can you see my screen?
You can see the slides, resources slides.
You
Yeah,
can't
we can, sir.
see the
Now we
ABDM.
can see. FHIR implementation guide for ABDM.
Correct. So the shortcut is nrcs.in/ndhm. Okay. Now why NDHM? Because the previous name of ABDM was NDHM. Okay. So the same shortcut is still maintained. Okay. So it redirects you to the implementation guide. And in one of our FHIR sessions, we will talk about what is an implementation guide in some detail. Okay. Now, if you go here, you have ABDM profiles and NHCX profiles. ABDM is what we are looking at today. NHCX is National Health Claims Exchange profiles. So while ABDM we are doing on the Digital Health Information Exchange, there is also the claims platform that is coming up, okay, which is also part of the ABDM, but it is developed as a separate profile. So that is here, okay. So if you go to ABDM profiles, you see the documents that I listed on the table, right? Those are the documents that they have defined here, okay. And these are the documents that are a base for our exchange on ABDM. Okay, we'll take a look at one of the example also. Now, these documents, if you see, would use resources. And some of those resources might be customized for Indian use cases, correct? And that's where the profiles and the profiling comes into picture. So for example, let's take an example of patient, okay? And we'll also take an example of which record shall I open? Shall I open discharge summary, because that is more familiar with everyone? Let's do that. Okay. So, and this is something that we will be covering, I think, in the upcoming session that is on Saturday on profiling, because we left session 1 at conformance. We introduced conformance and we left it there, right? So we will be using, now we'll just continue session 3 on profiling. So if you see, these are certain changes. And if you see, this is a differential table. Differential table lists out all the differences in this particular resource or in this particular profile from the base. Okay. So these are the differences that are listed out. So ABDM has made certain changes to the base FHIR resource, okay, to be compliant with India's requirement. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell. So a patient in ABDM, correct, is a patient who is profiled on top of the base FHIR, but it's not the base FHIR. There is like base FHIR plus plus. That's how you can take a look at it. Okay. So for example, let's see what they have done here. So for example, name they have made must support. Okay. What does it mean? That if you have a patient's name in the system, you must send it. Okay. If you are a consumer, you should have a provision to accept patient names if it comes, right? That's the must support. But they have kept it optional. In certain scenarios, maybe the patient name is optional in terms of research and all, right? So that's why they have given the flexibility there, right? But they have made it must support. Same thing, they have done it for a lot of things. Now I come to implementation guide of a document. Okay. So first we'll take a look at it. How does the document look? So you see this, the FHIR document, somebody is scratching on the, or making marks on the screen. I think somebody's baby is playing or somebody, so please don't do that. And so coming to so we are looking at a discharge summary example. This discharge summary contains this particular information. Okay. So it has patient's details, chief complaint, medical investigations, and all these things. This is the summary that they have done. How it will look in the JSON format is something like this. Okay. So if you see, all the structured data will be there. It will start with a bundle that, as I told, right, the first resource will be a bundle, and bundle of type will be document. Bundle of type will be document, right? And the first entry in the bundle will be a composition, right? These are the rules of FHIR documents, correct? Then there will be multiple records and all. Then if you go all the way down, they have also attached a PDF. Okay, so the discharge summary PDF is also attached as a base 64 N2. Okay, and this is what I was talking about, structured, unstructured to structured, right? So today, whatever information, so if you see here, let's go back. If you see here, this narrative content is not that useful, right? Because a lot of information is still in the PDF, correct? Once we get into the structured mode, all this information will be populated from the resource itself. But today, most of the information is there. Whatever is present, they can have done it. Else, for everything else, there is the PDF that they have embedded. So it's not just a PDF, they also have an image. And this image is just a signature. So the main thing is the PDF that they have embedded. So if you download the PDF, I think you'll be able to see like what exactly in the discharge summary. Shall we try to download? I don't know whether it works or not. See. Not sure it will work or not. And let me check. Yeah. I think this is the PDF that they have embedded. You see this? So this is the information that is contained in the FHIR resource. All right. Where is it? How is it ending? Okay. So this is the example. What I wanted to show you is this is how they have made the document. So if you see the discharge summary, in the discharge summary, there will be a subject, that is the patient, and then there will be multiple sections, okay, that has been defined. The first section is chief complaint, the second one is a physical examination, third one is an allergy, fourth one is a medical history, and so on and so forth. So these are the sections that can be in a discharge summary as per ABDM's implementation. Okay. And then the last one is actually the reference to a document where you can put in a document. Right, so you can see like the methods that we talked about. A document will have a well-defined structure and all that you can see, right? So the document will have these structures, correct? So when we look at profiling and other things, we might go a little bit more detailed. But in the meanwhile, if you want to play around, if you want to get a hang of what it is, just go ahead and look at the profiles here. Look at the background, the information, the purpose, scope, everything, so that it helps you understand how an implementation guide works. What are the things that are available? Okay, they also give you downloads. In that downloads, they will give you different definitions and packages and everything. Okay. So with this, what I do is, did you see the PDF or not? When I downloaded, was it visible?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Now what I'll do is I'll just go to the ABDM dashboard. That is the last section. All right. So any question about ABDM adoption, right? You can look at this public dashboard. This is a public dashboard, which is maintained for the public, where the data is updated at a regular frequency. Okay. So here what you can see is, just a minute, the ABDM insights, like how many ABHA accounts have been created so far. The 60 crore ABHA accounts have been created. 37 crore health records have been linked. 2,60,000 health facilities are already verified on the health facility registry. And around 3 lakh doctors and professionals have been verified. Okay, this is the data. Okay, you can look at state-wise, which state is doing how. All right, and then you can also look at which are the software companies who are involved in ABDM, right? You can take a look at it and who is active, who is not active. So this is the list. It says like ABHA created by partners. So which software created how many ABHA? So that's where it is, right? And then health records linked shows how many health records were linked and by how many hospitals. So for example, let's take an example of something that I'm familiar with, Carcinus. So in Carcinus, through Carcinus, they have linked around, they have enabled these many hospitals. I don't know how many are there. So looks like 10, 20, 15, sorry. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13. So 13 health facilities are there, okay? Of these, 2 are labs and the rest are hospitals and clinics. So these hospitals and clinics are enabled through a software from Carcinos Healthcare. Similarly, other softwares have enabled something. So you can take a look at it here. Okay, adoption trend, you can see, creation trend, you can see. Now the interesting metrics that I wanted to show you is incentive scheme. Okay. There was a question like how many people are getting the incentives and all. So total health facilities are 3,000. So if you see here, they had around 260 health facilities that are verified on HFR. But of those, only 3,000 have enrolled themselves for incentives. Of those, 2,600 are hospitals and 393 are labs. Okay. These entire hospitals and labs are enabled by 38 digital solutions companies. So these are the software companies. You can think of them as HMIS, LMIS, or just plain vanilla aggregators or health repositories who are enabling these hospitals. Okay. So far, 578 unique entries of payment have been made. Okay. And let's see if it comes. So much incentive amount has been disbursed. It's around 5 crore 72 lakh incentives that have been disbursed. So that way you can see like which hospital, which clinic, what all things, who is doing how. You can take a look at it, all the things here. It's all transparent. And then adoption, like if you want to get into more details, you can just go ahead and take a look at it. So this is where I plan to end today's session. What we can do is we can take another 10 to 15 minutes to answer the questions and have a discussion. All right. So what I'll do is I'll stop the share. We'll take the questions that are there, and then we will get on to the discussions. Right. So let's first take the questions. Where are the questions? I think Zoom chat is difficult to read. Can we move on to Zulip chat and can we have the questions there? Because it's very difficult.
The questions already posted here. Maybe you can look from the timing 5:35.
Just a minute. Okay, so from Sudha. Okay, I will take it from Sudha, right? No, I have taken these questions. 5:35, you're saying, right?
Yes, we stopped around 5:39.
Yeah. Okay, so no, so that question is also important because we just addressed that. So how many? Okay, one more thing that you need to see is you want to see like how many hospitals, how many systems are ABDM compliant. So if you go to this page, I'm sharing my screen again. Resume share. If you go to main page of ABDM.
There is a typo, the address ADBM.
Yeah. Okay. So if you see here, and if you go to the partners, you'll get to see what are the software companies or what are the solution companies which are actually ABDM compliant. Okay. And you can take a look at their certificate to know like what levels they are certified for. Okay. You can also have a feature comparison. For example, you can choose different hospital systems and compare their features and say like which one is what. So this is all things, these are all ABDM compliant software. You can choose which one to use. And then you can also do feature comparison in others, right? Keep in mind, these again are data that is given by the vendor themselves. So don't trust them blindly, but at least you come to know, right, which software has what features, correct? So that's where it is. I wanted to show this. We'll move back to the chat. We'll move back to the chat. I'll pause the share. I'll go down to the chat. Get on to the chat. I don't know where the chat has gone. Can you please read out the chat? Or let me figure out.
Yeah.
Chat. Okay, got it. All right. So I got it. AWS is done. This is done. This is done. What are the process of getting VASA certificate? VASA certificate is actually a safety assessment. You have to enroll a cert in panel agency who will test your environment for security and vulnerability. And once that is cleared, you get a VASA certificate. Does linkage of Aadhaar and ABHA and mobile necessary? Does linkage of Aadhaar, ABHA, mobile number necessary? Ashok Kumar's question. So you can create ABHA only with Aadhaar, right? So that's why linkage is important. Do health tech company needs to have all the milestone or just right? I answered this question because depending on your use case, you can choose what milestones you want to get certified for. Do we have similar equivalent concept of break the glass where patient consents gets overridden in case of emergency? From the technology standpoint, I think it's not baked in. But if you see the DPDP Act, the Digital Data Protection Act, I think this is covered. The break the glass scenarios are covered. NHA does not use plastic ABHA cards. However, I answered that. Will there be any charges for patients as hospitals storing the health data? Ashok Kumar, that's a business model question. We don't know. The business model still is evolving, and each entity is free to choose their own business model. Sudha has a question for NHA to certify. Is there a repository of documentation for? Yes. The sandbox.abdm.gov.in. If you go there, it's an entire sandbox where you will have the API documentation, test cases, workflows, everything in there. Okay. Rajiv has another question. Just as CGHS forced the soft copy documents for all the claims, these large players like force digitization of records could happen. We don't know. All right. I think we have answered all the question. Now, if there are any further questions on Zulip, we can take, or any points that you want to discuss, we can just have a discussion, or else we can call it a day. There is a question from Dipankar. With only metadata, can government track the health data, health demand of a particular region? I understand one goal of ABDM is to understand the population. I'm reading the Zulip questions, and in the Zulip, there is a question from Dipankar who says, like, let me share the screen. Share the screen. Share the screen. Go to Zulip. Okay. Okay. If you can see my screen, so I'm reading this question. And this question is, with only ABDM, with only metadata, can the government track the health demand of a particular region? I understand the goal of ABDM is to understand the population health needs and take measures accordingly. I don't think you can predict that, Dipankar, because with the metadata, you can only say like, what is the patient concentration? which hospital is generating how much data, and how the exchange is happening. Apart from that, you can say like what type of documents, maybe lab reports, discharge summary and all. But more than that, I don't think you can get it from the metadata. For that, I think there will be registries like the Onco registry and the other registries that are there. And government might also have its own registry where it will ask people to contribute to the data. That could be another way to do it. Because anyways, population health is a government's business subject as well, right? So they will do it. Okay, I think we have covered everything. If there are no more questions, no more discussion points, we can take a break. We will meet again on Saturday, 11 a.m. The links will be shared. If anyone is not on Zulip, please be on Zulip, because it is becoming very difficult for us to coordinate with everyone. So if we want to make Zulip as our primary communication channel, so we want you to be here. And if you want emails and other things, then I think Google Groups is another thing that we are trying. But the challenge there also is like we have sent invites to everyone, but half of the people have not accepted the invites to Google Groups. So people have registered, but they have not. They're not getting the information, or they are not interested in getting the information on how to join. Right. So just requesting everyone, please join Zulip if you have not. Accept the Google Groups invite if you have received it. And if not, please ping. And we will see how to do it. All right, I'll stop the share now. Stop the recording now. Thank you. We'll meet again at 11 o'clock on Saturday.